unfortunately, one of the worst injuries in sports happened last night, and it happened to a Portland legend. Early in the game against the Indiana Pacers, Damian Lillard goes for a loose ball, and you see his calf reverberate, his inability to get to the ball as he falls forward, still makes a hell of a play, throwing it over to the corner for a three. And the second it happened, if you've seen it before, you've seen it 1,000 times. We now have confirmation from Chris Haynes and Shams Charania. Damian Lillard has indeed suffered a torn Achilles. And it sucks, man. It's one of those things where the second it happened, I felt sick. I didn't want to watch the game. I didn't want to talk basketball. I didn't want anything at that moment. My wife was sitting there watching the game with me, and she just kind of like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, it sucks. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to cry or puke. And obviously, I've covered literally every single game of Damian Lillard's career in Portland. I've watched most of his games in Milwaukee. I know him, and I know what he's been through, and I know how hard he fought to get back from the blood clot, how hard he's fought throughout his career, whether it was dealing with a core muscle injury, the calf, the other calf. It's always been something. And, then it's, going through the trade stuff and getting to Milwaukee and being alone and going through personal stuff. It's just been one thing after another, after another, after another. And I just felt sick because, and this isn't pity, because the last thing he would want, and hell, I've talked to him about it already. It's not pity. It's just, he is different in the sense of his mental, physical, and emotional toughness is truly special. But damn, does it have to be tested all the time? Like, is that where we are with this?
It feels like, unfortunately for him, as much as he has meant to Portland and to a lot of Blazer fans, that he's going to go down as one of those really great superstars that you talk about, all these great accolades that they've had, but then they don't get the title. And a lot of it isn't his fault.
Yeah.
Like, it's unfortunate that he couldn't be more like Carmelo, because then you could say, well, yeah, Melo never won a title, but that's because Carmelo had certain parameters that you had to hit. And Carmelo had to be the star, and Carmelo wouldn't come off the bench. And because Carmelo believed in all those things and believed a little bit too much in Carmelo, Carmelo never won a title because he couldn't, be willing to move on to a situation where he wasn't the complete alpha. Where Dame, it isn't his fault that the organization viewed him and CJ higher than they probably should have as a duo. It isn't Dame's fault that by the time he finally gets moved over to Milwaukee, Milwaukee is now old, right? And they're getting beaten down. Like, make no mistake, as good as Damian Lillard is, if he's 100% healthy, I don't know that they win this series.
It was going to be tough because
that Pacers team is good.
They are. I want to make sure we take some time today to talk about the Pacers, because I got a bunch of buddies that cover the Pacers, and they're feeling a certain kind of way right now. And I get it, because they're just being pushed to the side because the Dame news is so monumental. And it is. That's the thing. It's monumental news because Dame's 34 years old. KD and Clay, when they did this, were 30. And look, I'm never going to doubt Dame until he doesn't do something. Like, he came back from the blood clot faster than basically anyone's ever done it, using, top-end medical procedures. He's built different. Mentally, he's just that way. And, I won't share everything, but, this morning he said, when we were talking, said, I'll answer the call again. Once again, mark my words. That was what he said to me this morning, because that's how he's built. He's just a different dude. And selfishly, after it happened, it just kind of went into a fog, and a lot of you guys are texting in right now to the fan text line. I get it. Somebody said I sat down, ate 3 full edibles. Not breaking into the proper dosage there. I just don't want to feel it. Look, man, about 5-10 minutes after the injury, I was just on my phone, texting back and forth with guys. I just looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to run to the store. Do you want something? Like, I just wanted to get out of the house. I didn't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, even with Dame not here, not wearing red and black, I think basically anybody who's a Blazers fan, who's been a Blazers fan, who rooted for Dame was just absolutely gutted yesterday. Yeah. Absolutely gutted.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate in more ways than one because as you look at it, it's not like Klay's injury. Where Klay's injury, man, that sucks. Another guy who fights through everything, plays to the umpth degree, reached his full potential, and then probably then some, right? And he has his, I can't remember if it went Achilles tear, then his knee tear, or knee tear, then Achilles. No. But you feel awful for him, but you don't have that sinking feeling because he's going to come back. You know that Klay is going to fight and work his way back because of when the injury happened.
And they got the titles. He climbed the mountain.
Right. And for Dame, the biggest issue that he's fighting as well with the injury is not just the injury and how we saw it. Kobe is a completely different player from where he was before the injury
pre and post Achilles,
and to where he is post Achilles.
The difference being is you can see Achilles treatment has gotten drastically better.
Right, because it's happening more and more often. But the thing for Dame is he was always going to fight a really difficult battle with Father Time because he is undersized, because he has to rely on smarts, on superior talent, and burst, right? And that is going to be gone from him now. And even if he does answer the call, I immediately thought of B. Roy. Because Brandon Roy, for me, like growing up, that's the guy who got me into Trailblazer basketball. I loved Brandon Roy.
And Brandon went out on his shield in that game against Dallas.
That's one of my favorite all-time memories as a Blazer fan, is Brandon Roy just being a dog one more time. But the problem is that when I was that age, I was young. And Brandon Roy had that game, and I come back from it going, man, Brandon Roy's back. Like, he is going to be awesome again all the time. Yeah. And he never was that guy again.
That was it.
Right.
I mean, he knew it.
You're going to have moments, right? Let's say Dame clearly intends to come back. He comes back. You're going to have moments, best case scenario.